Thank you. Hi, everybody. I blew it. It's Jennifer here. And let's see. I'm going to pop this up. And there's 14 of you. I'm sitting here. I signed on as garden coach. Silly me. And I've been here introducing the rhododendron and azalea. And I finally got up and went to our marketing field. I said, could it be, what am I doing wrong? I'm the only one here. So welcome, everybody. I'm so sorry that I scared you. I was actually on the garden coach, not on rhododendrons and azaleas. This is going to be another one for my What I Learned from Zoom lesson book. So welcome aboard. I'm Jennifer Brennan, and I need to drink more of my Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I guess, to be awake here. And I have, let me see, oh my goodness, I have 34 people. I am so sorry. I was on another Zoom on Garden Coach wondering, where is everybody? So here you are. You've got, I did a one-page handout. You're gonna love this because I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know to have success with rhododendrons and azaleas. And I'm going to show you some of the beautiful ones we have. And oh, we're getting started about, it's 6 minutes late, but don't worry, it's going to be a quick webinar in the PowerPoint, and then I'll stay on answering all your questions to the very end. When you have questions, put them on the in the question and answer column rather than the chat, because I can keep them organized better that way. Let me go down here. And I'm going to do the share screen. There it is. Okay, please be there. Okay, there it is. Oh, things are looking up, everybody. Okay, and we're going to go to the slideshow and go from the beginning. And oh, isn't this a beautiful picture? That is great. Now, I'm going to do some public service announcements. The cool thing is, all of these rhododendrons and azaleas are 20% off from the promotion that they're doing starting yesterday all the way till next Wednesday. And we're today still, and this weekend is still a soft opening for the nursery. That means you just can't come in the nursery gate. Come in through the store and you can do all the shopping that you want out in the nursery, and there's sales staff out there. So we just are waiting for our cashiers. We have new cash stations and the equipment hasn't come in. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, COVID. So they're keeping it kind of as a soft opening so that people go into the nursery from the store. But it is gorgeous out in the nursery, and we're getting so many wonderful new plants. Oh, another promotion real quick it's for garden essentials. So when you want to get all your products, like the fertilizer for your rhododendrons and azaleas, Hollytown, the fungicide for your rhododendrons and azaleas, it's called Rose RX, and you'll know about that when I get finished. But if you spend $100 between starting yesterday and going through this coming Wednesday, you automatically get $25 off the top. Isn't that cool? So all kinds of great promotions for you to take advantage of. So let me see. Oh, we've got 37 people. I love you for staying on, wondering, where is Jennifer? Oh my. I got rewarded with a cup of Dunkin' Donuts coffee from my marketing staff, and I love Dunkin' Donuts, cream only. And so I'm going to take a swig and then get started. Hopefully you have a cup of coffee on your desk that tastes just as good. Okay, here we go. Okay, now if you've ever been on the East Coast or in the Pacific Northwest, these are the gorgeous, rhododendrons that you'd see. This is one of the Roseum, beautiful large leaf rhododendrons, and they're just spectacular. Now out there, even in Pennsylvania, they're not little. They're these huge 10-foot to 12-foot size plants and 10 to 12 feet wide. Incredible. It's like looking at a pink mountain. But here they're smaller because our growing conditions are harsher for them. When we say harsher, they don't like our heavy clay soil. They're used to growing in rocky mountainous regions in Asia, like Japan and China. And they they do not like our alkaline soil. They prefer a mildly acidic soil condition. And so I have tricks to show you how to achieve that. Another one that is just gorgeous. Look, this was from our sales yard, I think just last year. And look at that. This is the alba form. Isn't that spectacular? Look at those great big flower buds. And then when they start opening up, they just it's miraculous to watch them. You can see the buds that are like kind of a tight pink color. And then they open up to that beautiful white with the venation, the veins in the that are the pink. And then that gorgeous, gorgeous evergreen foliage. So you get this wonderful landscape plant that's evergreen, year round, and that just explodes with color in the spring. So, and then I'm going to show you all the different categories of the rhododendrons and azaleas. Now, all of rhododendrons and azaleas use the same genus. They're all considered rhododendron. It's the different specific epithets, and it's the number of stamen and pistils that they have that dictates which group category they're in, besides the foliage. So I'm going to go into those details. Now, I'm going to start with how to take care of them. So the care and feeding of plants in the rhododendron family, and the term for the plants in the rhododendron family, and there are many others in this group. It's called ericaceous plants. And the Ericaceae or ericaceous plants all love mildly acidic soil. And I'm just focusing on the rhododendrons and azaleas today. And I'm not even going to mention the other names because I don't want to confuse anybody. But there's a whole group of plants that that love those conditions. Now, the best fertilizer for evergreens and rhododendrons and azaleas is the Espoma hollytone. And it's a 4-3-4, those are the three numbers, 4-3-4, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and nutrient value. And so that's really considered balanced, very nicely balanced fertilizer. It doesn't push the plants. Now, one thing that I warn everybody about is do not fertilize rhododendrons and azaleas before they finish flowering. I'm going to say it again. Don't fertilize, even with mild hollytone. Don't fertilize any rhododendrons or azaleas until after they finish flowering. Okay. The reason is that if my hand is like the tip of an end of a branch, my fist is the flower bud, and my wrist is where the flower bud is attached to the stem. My forearm would be the stem, and the vegetative buds there's 3 or 4 of them, and they're just positioned directly under the flower bud. If you fertilize before the flower bud opens, sometimes you can stimulate that new vegetative growth. And as they start growing, they will pop the flower bud off before it flowers. And that's called, it aborts, the flower bud aborts. So don't fertilize until after they're finished, okay? And then the cool thing about doing it after they finish flowering is a lot of times it will deadhead the blooms for you automatically. Isn't that cool? So, so the rate of using hollytone is 1 cup per foot of branch spread. And most rhododendrons and azaleas are 3 feet up to 5 feet wide in our growing conditions. Oh, I was telling you about the harsh growing conditions for rhododendrons and azaleas. They don't like heavy clay soil. They don't like alkaline soil. They hate it when it gets over 85. When it gets over 85, they stop doing anything metabolically. That means the only thing they do is they let water flow through the plant from the roots up through the leaves. So that's why they stay much smaller here. They're not growing with the cool nights like up in the Pacific Northwest. They're not growing all the time. So they only get to be about 5 to 6 feet tall here in our location. So knowing that, you just love what you have and take care of what you have. Now, in order to lower our high pH soil, you use the Hollytone, and you also supplement with garden sulfur. And garden sulfur is an elemental sulfur, which means when you look at the granules, they're bright yellow, and they're very slow release. It's a very slow release way to use it, so you don't have to worry about burning anything, with the sulfur. So you're going to use 1 cup around and sprinkle it on top of the soil. If you can, move your mulch away early in the spring, April, and then you're going to do it again in October. It takes 6 months for the sulfur to break down with the organic microorganisms in the soil. They break it down and then release the acidity into the soil. And so it's really nice. It helps. It keeps it much more. And with our soil is 7.2 to 7.6, which is really alkaline. I love on the East Coast, they describe our soil as being too sweet because it's not acid. There's either acid or sweet. And they say, oh, our soils are too sweet. But to bring down a pH from 7.6, 7.2, 7.6, it's astronomical but by using the sulfur every 6 months, we can bring our soil pH down to 6.5, which is still okay. They would love it if we could get down to 6 or 5.5, but we'll never get our soils down that low. It's just impossible chemically to do it. But so you have the elemental sulfur and garden sulfur or soil sulfur, and then there's also a 5% sulfur component in Hollytone. So by doing in Hollytone lasts 30 days, lasts a month, and we recommend doing it immediately when they finish blooming, and then 1 month later, and then do it again in October. Okay, they don't need a lot of fertilizer, but boy, Hollytone really does help them out. Okay, so now let's keep moving on here. Now, I'm showing you kind of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. One of the worst things that can happen to the rhododendrons and azaleas in our area is they get these are considered water molds. It's not a true fungus. It's a water mold that occurs in our heavy wet soils. And Phytopthora and Pythim are the two that are the most common. Now, when you see your rhododendrons looking like these two photos, and you'll see the leaves actually, like folding down to the stems and never raising back up, even if you water. They tend to do this in the cold winter temperatures, and the leaves will hug the stems. And I always like that. I have 9 of the small leaf rhododendrons in front of my house. I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit. But I always love that, and I always could tell my son when he was a little guy, look out the window and see which coat you need to take. If the rhododendrons, the leaves are hugging their stems, you better put the heavier coat on. And so they do that, but when the temperature warms back up, the leaves come back up. But if they don't rise up, this can also happen if they're too dry. If they get too dry in between waterings or between rainfalls, the leaves will droop down like that. But you can see the larger photo right in the center. You can see this plant is hydrated because of all the other leaves around it. But those stems that are right in the front, the root systems of those stems are being impacted by, most likely it's Phytopthora. It's the Phytopthora. So to prevent that, if you keep the soil acidified, that helps prevent it. Using the organic fertilizers like Hollytone helps to prevent it. And then you can also use a fungicide to help just knock it out and control it. We have many systemic fungicides in products that we carry here. The one I like the best for rhododendrons and azaleas is the Bonide brand Rose RX Systemic Drench. And what's wonderful about this is it has a systemic fungicide in it. It's called tebuconazole. Oh, I didn't put it in the text. I'm sorry. It's tebuconazole. And then it also has a systemic insecticide, which rhododendrons and azaleas don't have that many problems with insects, The one that can be a problem though, that can damage the roots is black vine weevil. So I like to recommend that you use the drench just to make sure that you don't get the black vine weevil. So you use it at the rate of 2 ounces in a quart of water, and that's per plant. And some of the packages actually have a measuring cup on top, and or the bottles. And this lasts 6 weeks, which is really nice. So you can do that 3 times in the growing season. And this sounds a lot like the rose and flower all-in-one product from BioAdvanced. It is the exact same fungicide, the exact same insecticide. This doesn't have fertilizer. So because of timing, and if you fertilize rhododendrons at the wrong time and the flower buds can abort, I recommend using this one so you don't have to worry about the fertilizer kind of messing anything up. And what's great is it will prevent root rot. It will control root rot also that is already established and help the plant heal. Okay? So this is called Rose RX Systemic Drench. Okay. The other thing I see a lot of at the diagnostic desk, especially on the large leaf rhododendrons, but I've seen it on small leaf rhododendrons also, is that we get winter burn, sunburn. It's called leaf scorch. And this is what the symptoms look like. Just brown areas. Usually it's on the upper curved part of a leaf because it's the higher part of a leaf. And so you can see the photo on the left. This was actually from an East Coast reference, I think. Oh gosh, I just noticed. And if you look close, if you look closely, look up to the top of the photo and see the leaves that are notched. That's the symptom of black vine weevil. Wow, cool. I didn't notice that when I put this in the system. Okay, and then the lower photo, to the right, was actually from the Illinois newsletter from the University of Illinois Plant Clinic. And this classic, you can see the tips and the edges are, sunburned and windburned. So we call it leaf scorch. And the best way to control that is to plant them in locations where they're not going to be exposed to winter sun, direct winter sun. And a lot of times we just forget about the trees dropping all their leaves in the wintertime and having these plants exposed to like a western sun late in the wintertime. So kind of be aware of that. When the new growth comes out, the new leaves are fine and it usually hides the scorch and you don't have to do anything about it at all. But I just wanted to let people know what that is. Now, this is the recommendation, and I learned this probably, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this, 40 years ago from the Northern Illinois Rhododendron Society. And this is their just tried and true planting technique. Now, this diagram is from their website. We actually have a handout that we give to people here at Chalet, and it is, I like our drawing a little bit better, but so essentially what you're doing to keep the rhododendrons azaleas out of our heavy clay soil, you plant above the grade, or you just dig a small depression, like the top of a champagne, glass, the classy ones, that not the flutes, but the classy ones that look like, they're on a stem, and it's just a small indentation, and you dig that. So what that means is you're not doing a lot of digging when you plant rhododendrons. So that makes it a lot easier. Okay. But then when you're going to put the root ball in, you only want maximum 1/3 of the bottom of the root ball to be below the grade line. All right. Now you're going to cover the bottom of the hole before you plant with a cup of the garden sulfur. Dig that into to the soil, and then I like to sprinkle a little bit of this new mix on top. Okay, what you're going to do, you're going to make the backfill out of 2/3 shredded pine bark mixed with the soil that you dug out of that small depression. So it's 1/3 soil, 2/3 shredded pine bark. And then what you're going to do is you're going to mound that mixture around the root ball and then up over the top, and then spread it wide over the depression, and then even out over where the edge of the hole where the depression is dug. And then you're firming that down. And did I mention you're supposed to, I did mention you're supposed to put a cup of sulfur down in the bottom. I mentioned at the beginning. I can't, yeah, I did. It's on my notes. Okay. And then you're going to sprinkle your fertilizer on top, some hollytone on top over that, and then put more of just plain pine bark, mulch it, starting 6 inches away. This is 6 inches from here to there, 6 inches away from the stem, and going out over the mounded mix of 2/3 shredded pine bark, 1/3 of the existing soil. And what this does is it creates this beautiful, acidic, well aerated, very oxygenated growing area for the root system to grow into. And it grows into that. And then as long as you keep it nice and mulched with more of the shredded pine bark, it helps keep it acidic. And you do have to watch it, keep it pretty well watered, because it is above the grade. So make sure, watch your rainfall. And that rule, at 75 degrees or cooler, it's 1 inch of rain a week. If we don't get that, then you supplement with supplemental water, hand watering, or a sprinkler system, so that you're really hydrating that root ball. And for every 10 degrees above 75, add an additional 1/2 inch of rain or additional 1/2 inch of supplemental water. So if it's 90 degrees or 85 degrees, we should be getting almost 2 inches of rain a week. And guess what didn't happen last year? Oh my gosh, last summer was horrendous. So this year is great. This year, Mother Nature is being so kind to us. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. Okay, so now, or knock wood. All right, so then you're going to fertilize with the hollytone, 1 cup per foot of branch spread. You can put that under the mulch or even on top of the mulch, and it'll work its way in. And then, oh, there's my typo. Mulch over the top with the shredded pine bark mulch. Okay, and then repeat the sulfur and fertilizer 2 times a year. Right after it finishes flowering, and then the sulfur in April and October. Right after it finishes flowering, usually May, June, and then once again the 1st of July, to give it the nutrient it needs to make those flower buds going forward, for the next season. And then do it again in October. Okay. This is a great trick. This is how I did all of my own. Okay, so now here are the different classifications. We have the large leaf rhododendrons, and oh gosh, I had a term, and this is the elliptidotes. And anyway, they have a rounded form. They have large flower clusters. In the growing season, they like to have a half a day of sun, and then a half day of shade. And then in the winter, you want to avoid full sun and strong winds. Put them in a protected location. And these are moderate growing. Okay. And this is a close-up of the leaves. Now, I picked this one because I wanted to show you how some of the leaves are what we call tomentose. And if you look at the underneath side, and I'm sorry I didn't get a photo of that. I should have done that. The underneath side, they almost look like velvet, but you can see the fuzzy texture on top of the leaves also. So those are the ones that are that have this are some of the Finnish hybrids from Finland, and they're much more tomentose because they can survive much colder temperatures. Now the small leaf rhododendrons, it's a broad base shape. They're usually taller than they are wide, and they have large numbers of real small flower clusters all over the surface and all over the tips of the branches. And they flower in April and May. In the growing season, they can tolerate, full sun to 3/4 shade. And then in winter, the smaller leaf ones will tolerate some winter sun and some wind. They don't burn out as much as the large leaves do. And again, these are moderate growing. Okay, here's a picture of the small leaf. And note how the discoloration of the older leaves down below, that's a winter color. They get that winter color. It's not a problem. And I look at it as kind of an ornamental feature, but a lot of people are panicked when they see that. They think, ah, my plant's dying, but it's not. And then you can see how the buds are ready to go. And instead of having one big fat bud at the tip, you've got a cluster of flowers. So that makes really full clusters, of leaves. Now, the evergreen azaleas, they're actually semi-evergreen. So they can drop, like as many as half of their leaves in the wintertime. They tend to be flat topped. The shrubs are kind of flat topped and rather rectangular, rather, wider than tall. They have large numbers of flower clusters throughout the whole plant. So up at the tips and then all along the branches down below. And they flower in May. The growing season, half-day sun, and then they tolerate shade very nicely. And in the winter, avoid full sun and northwest winds because they're semi-evergreen, they can get damaged pretty easily. These are very slow growing, very slow growing. Okay, this is one of the classic examples of the evergreen small-leaved rhododendrons. And I'm going to show you that variety in just a few minutes. Now, the deciduous azaleas, these are later blooming, and I absolutely love these. It's a broad oval or vase shape, so taller than wide. They have a moderate number of flower clusters, at the ends of the branches, and they bloom in May all through June. In the growing season, they can take full sun because, or as much as a half a day shade. In the winter, sun or shade, and they're acceptable of the winter wind. These are moderate to fast growing. So if you want a good display, and this is a great one. I love that. This is Lemon Lights. I'll show you this in the photos. And then this is another beautiful, this is called Gibraltar. And I have a whole description sheet of this one. Now, here are the different types of the different groups. So we've got the large leaf rhododendron. Now I did on your handout, if we don't have it in stock, and I just wanted you to see this Bessie Howells because it's one of my favorites, but we don't carry that in stock. So I didn't put it on your list, okay? But we do have Borsal. And isn't that just beautiful, that gorgeous purple? Incredible. Okay, the cowsap is the one on the left, large leaf, and I love that. It's kind of a lavender white with that beautiful throat. Capistrano is a gorgeous yellow one. I don't think we have this one in stock this season, but it's one of my favorites. I want to share. But the cowsap we have, and it's going to be gorgeous when it opens up. We have a ton of the hagas out there. Look how huge those flowers are. It's just incredible. Northeast Swift, I'm seeing contradictive inventory results on this. So we might have it, we might not have it, but Haga would take the place of the Dorothy Swift really easily. Janet Blair is another one, and Lee's Dark Purple. Okay, now Nova Zambla and Roseum elegans, those are the ones that I actually learned in college. And these are the classics. I mean, just absolute classics. And they're just spectacular because these flower clusters are almost 8 inches in diameter. 8 inches, they knock your socks off when you see them. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And we have plenty of both of these in stock right now. Okay, scintillation, we've got a ton of these. And then a few of the spring dawn. Scintillation, oh my goodness. I mean, it's just this, it opens up with a kind of a darker pink bud and then gives this pale pink with that yellow throat. Oh, just spectacular. I love the name too, scintillation. It's really fun. Okay, and then we have a lot of the Yaku prints out in the yard. And look see how you can see at the back of the photo, you can see all that deep pink bud. And then it opens up to the white and pink and almost two-tone. Just incredible. Absolutely just the definition of spring in my book. Now I'm shifting gears to the small leaf. I left the grape jam in because it's a cute one, but we don't have that in here, but we have tons of the Olga Mezin. And Ogamezet, the Mezet family, were the hybridizers from the East Coast that were hybridizing and selecting rhododendrons and azaleas that are hardy to the United States. So Olga, they're named after like the grandmother and the mothers and all that kind of stuff. But Olga Mezet, this was around when I was in college, and this actually was one of Mike Durr's favorites. And so that he was the Dr. Michael Durr, is whom I learned all the woody plants from when I was down at the University of Illinois. Now the PJM, this is the Weston Nursery in Massachusetts near Boston. The Weston Nursery was the first one to introduce PJM, and those are the initials of one of the family members. And it's that lavender, and it was one of the earliest rhododendrons. It was hardy to zone 5. So it's world famous, world famous. And then they've done all this neat hybridizing. So you have PJM Elite, and the Elite is a little pinker. And then PJM Landmark came out. I think it's been around now for 5 years, maybe longer. My years are getting kind of fuzzy these days, but look how gorgeous that is. I mean, bright pink. I absolutely love it. Okay. And then Sugar Puff, beautiful Sugar Puff. And then Bixby, these are the semi-evergreen azaleas. And Bixby is as close to true red as you're going to get. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This is Herbert, a just lovely pure lavender. And look how it's just not on the ends. I'm going to go back. They're just not on the ends of the branches. The flowers are all along the stems, all the way down deep into the center of the plant. And then this one is the Karen's azalea, and the Karen's is also known as Puccanense lavender, and that was one of the photos I had up in the beginning when I was talking about some evergreens. But is this? Yeah, you'll hear this Karen's. You'll hear it called Puccanense. Puccanense. Okay, and there's a close up of it right here. The Karen Puccanense lavender. Beautiful color. I love the lavender with the springy green. And then these bloom a little bit later. The deciduous azaleas lose their leaves, and then so they flower first in the season, and the leaves come out afterwards. So there's Camillus Blush and Candy Lights, Gibraltar. We have a lot of Gibraltar in stock. Don't think there's conflicting inventory news about Mount St. Helens, but and then these are more of these are the deciduous azaleas. There's the swamp azalea. It blooms later in the summer, and then pink mist over here, and then this is what the foliage looks like. And ribbon candy is this other one, and then we have Weston's Innocence, and then we have Weston's. We have Pennsylvania. It's called Pennsylvania in our yard and in our inventory, but it was developed by the Weston Nursery. And look how gorgeous, and look how long the stamen and the stigma are on these. It makes them so easy for the pollinators. So if you're interested in having, plants for pollinators, oh my gosh, azaleas and rhododendrons are phenomenal because, they have the pollen and the nectar, and they're early, so it helps the pollinators that are coming around, to get their nutrition. And I think, this is the end of the introduction, and I'm going to repeat about the public service announcements that all of the rhododendrons and azaleas, there's a promotion going on. It started yesterday, and it goes until through Wednesday, where all the rhododendrons and azaleas are 20% off. So come in and buy them up like crazy. And then they're also doing a wonderful promotion for Chalet Rewards customers, that if you spend $100 in the Garden Essentials department, and that includes fertilizers, any of the pesticides, any of the repellents, if you have any problems with rabbits and deer, any of the repellents, fertilizers, insecticides, fungicides, repellents, any lawn care products. You spend $100, you immediately get $25 off the top. Isn't that cool? So I'm gonna, oh, here we go. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen with the PowerPoint. Oh, maybe, yeah, I'll stop sharing. And then let's go to the questions and answers. Okay, all right, and I'm gonna move this out of the way. So if I need to open the chat box too, I can do that. I'm getting better at this. Well, she says, as the person that was on Garden Coach rather than, I apologize again for that. Next week is Garden Coach. So that's gonna be Friday morning at 10 o'clock, Garden Coach. Okay, so now Robin Lindblad, do you recommend applying both the Hollytone and sulfur at the same time? In October, yes. In April, it's better to just do the sulfur and then wait until after your rhododendrons or azaleas flower before you put the Hollytone down, okay? Great question, very good question. Okay, so I'm gonna take care of this one. Now, Kelly Cole, add sulfur at the same time as fertilizer or okay before? Okay, okay, that's the same question. Put the sulfur down in April and then wait until after they finish blooming to put the Hollytone down in the spring. But in fall, in October, you can do both. You can do the sulfur and the Hollytone at the same time. Good questions. Okay, here we go. Now this is, oh, hi. Two of my 4 azalea plants have never blossomed. They're planted under and around a dogwood. Should I replace them with a rhododendron? You know what? If you have not been using fertilizer and are not been doing any sulfur, try that first, okay? Try that and see if that helps them. Now, everybody, the past 2 summers have been horrendous. Mother Nature was just awful. I'm going to take a sip. With it being so hot and so dry, many of our plants did not set flower buds. It was too dry and too hot for them to do any of that metabolic activity. So if it's just been the last 2 years on your 4 azalea plants, don't give up hope. Fertilize them now, use the sulfur now, and watch your rainfall. Everybody, I just put my own rain gauge out just yesterday. I didn't have it out, so I couldn't measure how much rain we had the night before. But I had it put away because I don't like it to freeze and thaw and crack over the winter. So monitor the rain you get at your house. And if you don't get an inch at least once a week, then give supplemental water. And I don't want you to give up on on this. I think is it Janet Shirich? I recognize your name, and I should know your first name. But yeah, don't fertilize and use the sulfur. See what happens before you give up on them. Okay. All right. Now this is Penny Randall. I have rhododendrons planted 2 years ago. Oh, if I have planted rhododendrons 3 years ago, they are not doing well. Should I dig and replant above ground as you described? That is really a smart thing to do. And what's shocking to most people is how rudimentary and how small the root systems of rhododendrons and azaleas are. So it would not hurt them at all. If there's no flower buds on them right now, and there's probably not because it's just in the last 2 years, we've had just horrendous growing conditions the past 2 summers. And like last spring, the spring was so dry, we only had a ½ inch of rain all the month of April, only a ½ inch all the month of May. And then in June, we got 4 inches of rain, but it happened in 4 days. And the rest of the month was completely dry without rain. So our plants just suffered. So dig those up, use that technique with the, plant them raised, and then use the pine bark mulch and with the existing soil, put some sulfur in below and then sulfur on top and the fertilizer. And I think you'll see, different performance. Absolutely. Okay, good question. All right, and there we go. And then this is anonymous attendees. My Karen's azalea have changed from lavender to pink. Why? I think what might have happened is sometimes they graft the hybrid or the cultivar onto just a rootstock. And if the cultivar gets killed back because of winter cold and winter damage, then the rootstock will grow out. So I have a feeling that's what's happened. I don't want to guess how large the plants are. If they're of good size, I would just live with the rootstock and then just come and get some more. But unless it throws your whole color theme off on your garden, I mean, I understand that too. But it's the rootstock that is growing out. And we've had some tough growing seasons. Okay, now Amy Kenneth, what are the other types of yellow varieties other than Capistrano? Ooh, Karen or Amy, I'm going to get back to you with the whole list, okay? And let me see what I'm going to do. Do me a favor, Amy, send me an email at Jennifer B, JENNIFERB @shaleynursery.com, and then I'll send you a list. All right. Okay, here we go. Because there's some beautiful ones. I mean, absolutely beautiful ones. All right, done. And then, Robin again. Oh, thank you. Okay, then Lynn, I think it's Tiemann. Can I pinch the small leaf rhodos after they bloom to limit their height? Oh my gosh, I should have talked about that. Oh my gosh. Yes, rhododendrons and azaleas are the most accommodating of all the landscape plants we have out there. They respond so beautifully to pruning if you want to control their size. So after they finish blooming, you prune back to a node, a node where the leaves are, and then you'll get 2 branches instead of 1 and have a nice, really full shrub. You have real leggy, large leaf rhododendrons, because that can really happen. After they finish blooming, cut them back a third. The rule is follow the rule of a third. And you take a third of the length of the branches back and then fertilize, and then the new growth will fill in. And then you can also cut out a third of the oldest, woodiest branches. Usually with rhododendrons and azaleas, it's just sufficient to take the branches back, just a third in length. So if you've got a big overgrown rhododendron, large leaf rhododendron, that's maybe 5 to 6 feet tall, you don't want it that tall, come in and let's just say they're 6 feet long, cut off 2 feet. And then it will branch out. And it also encourages new growth down lower on the stems. So it prevents that woody, leggy look. Okay. Great question. I love this. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this one. Great question. Okay, here we go. What is the name of the white large leaf? Oh, well, Dorothy Swift is the pink one. What I may have to do, that's the scintillation. Yeah, scintillation. Absolutely. Okay, great question. Okay, Kelly Cole, if rhododendron has a leaf fungus, is it safe to try to replant it per society directions or wait on it? I'm assuming after bloom. Yes, if you have blooms on it, wait till after bloom. The other thing you might want to do if you've got leaf fungus, and the Phytopthora can get into the leaves as well and cause brown spots on it and cause tips to die back. You want to spray with the fungicide. My favorite. And guess what? It's coming back in. We haven't had it all winter. Immunox will be back in. I think next week we'll have it, next Monday or Tuesday. And spray. It comes in a spray bottle. Spray the leaves that are being affected. And then after that, I would prune those back, and then if you do have flower buds on it, let it bloom first, and then dig it up and replant it according to the Northern Illinois Rhododendron Society directions. And we also have a handout here with all the rhododendrons described, and then that planting instruction on that page, or it's a 2-page, it's a 4-page actually, just two sheets, 4-page, and it's got the great diagram, the better diagram than in my PowerPoint, but it's really worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. How soon should I prune out dead wood on an azalea, and if you do a hard prune? Okay, dead wood you can prune out immediately. Anytime you see dead wood in a plant, you can prune, no matter what time of year it is. Prune it back to just above where the live wood is and get rid of that, because dead wood actually acts like an open pipeline. Water can still keep flowing out of it if you leave it on. Even though the part's dead, that pipeline, the vascular system is still there, and water wicks out of it. And if we're having a drought, oh my gosh, it's terrible. So you can prune that out. And then you can do a hard prune. When I say a hard prune, don't take more than 1/3 of the whole plant back, because when you do that, you upset the ratio of root growth to top growth, and it puts it into shock. So never take more than 1/3 off at a time. Now, if you really have a large overgrown plant, you can do that 1/3 pruning 3 years in a row, and to get rid of, to resize a plant. But again, follow that 1/3 to make sure you don't kill your plants up. Okay, so now let's do this one, and this is guest C again. Prune off curled brown leaves. Yes, if the leaves are curled, and hanging down, then I would just prune that whole stem back to, if you can see living tissue, prune it back to just above where the living tissue is and get rid of that one. I would recommend, if you've got a lot of those brown leaves, to come and get the Rose RX systemic drench. Treat the plant, and then a week later do your pruning, because then that way all of the tissues are treated with the fungicide, and you're not going to be spreading the disease. So treat with that and then do your pruning. All right. Okay. And boy, these were great questions. I'm going to scoot over to the chat, and I'll open this up to see if I've missed anything. Okay, here we go. So we had 4. So I had 4. So Kathy, the host and panelist, freezing a lot. I don't know what that means. Okay, or maybe it's down here below. Okay, then Margaret Winker, does Rose RX harm pollinators? Not at all, Margaret, not at all. It's you're drenching it right at the root zone. It's absorbed by the plant, goes up in the plant. The insecticide is not in the flower at all. So I've described this on the systemic insecticides frequently. But if you have, this is a flower bud where my fist is, and then the stem is my arm. There, where my wrist is, there's a membrane, like the blood-brain barrier that we have in our own bodies, that prevents anything but water and some nutrients to go into the flower. So the insecticide is not in the pollen and not in the nectar. It's not even in the petals of the flowers. The proof of that is when you treat roses with a systemic insecticide, and the Japanese beetles are still up in the flowers eating the petals. Okay, so that proves that there's no insecticide in the petals or the pollen or the nectar. Okay, yeah, great question. If my rhododendrons were planted last year and were not planted in the way you instructed, should I dig them up? And this is Trisha and Baker. Should I dig them out and replant them in the champagne glassway? Oh, I like how you described that. Yes, do. And now check them if you've got flower buds on them, and you might not. If there's no flower buds, go ahead and replant them. The sooner the better. All right. If there are flower buds on them, then wait till afterwards. Okay. Now, what to feed rhododendrons now, and when to cut endless summers? Oh, Luann Dunlap, I'm gonna say shame on you, shame on you. Endless summers or viburnums. I'll call you later to give you the information on endless summers. Or you know what? I still have time. I'll come back. Let me answer all the rhododendron and azalea questions, and then I'll come back. Now, to feed the rhododendrons and azaleas, I kind of covered that but I'll repeat. You want to use holly tone and do it after they finish flowering, and then use, treat, in April with the garden sulfur, and then do it again in October. Do the same thing in October. Now I'm coming back. Okay, this is Margaret. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. This is why I hate the chat box, because I can't tell where I left off, and it's easy. Okay, so Tricia, no, Margaret again. Do evergreen azaleas ever lose all their leaves in our climate? Yes, they can. That's a great question. Sometimes the evergreen azaleas can lose all their leaves. Now, they usually don't lose the very tips. You'll still see some leaves at the very tips, but they can drop all their leaves down and they regrow. So not too bad. Okay, now Tricia, one last one. What is it again that I use to kill those black weevils, those black vine weevils? Okay, I like the Rose RX drench because it has that systemic insecticide, and it's a drench, so you're pouring it down into the root zone where the larvae of the black vine weevils are. And if you see damage and evidence of the black vine weevils, which are those knots, it looks like someone has taken a paper, like a hole puncher, and come to the edge of the leaves and just done these like half circle notches all along the edges of the leaves. And that's the adult feeding. But if you see that, then boy, dollars to donuts, they're larvae down feeding on the roots, and they can do more damage to the plant than the adults do. And so by using a drench, the Rose RX, you can also use any of the 12-month tree and shrub and insecticides also, either from BioAdvanced or Vonide, and you measure that. It's 3 ounces per 1 foot of plant height, and that is mixed in a gallon. And you pour that right where the trunk or the stems go into the ground. That's called the root collar. And research done by Dr. Gary Watson at Morton Arboretum has proven that that the root collar is responsible for 60% of the entire root system uptake. So that's why these wonderful drenches work so well. So so again, either the 12-month or the Rose RX will do the trick for black vine weevils. Now, Rose RX, you have to use 3 times. It lasts 6 weeks. So you had April 15th, ding, 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 today, June 1st, and then July 15th. And that's an easy thing to do. Just mix 2 ounces, per plant in a quart of water and pour it right at the base. It's the same you would do for a rose. Okay. Now, then will this presentation be available to see again? Yeah, Kathy. What's cool is all of our webinars are being posted on the Chalet YouTube channel. And you just go to, and if you go to our webpage, the Chalet webpage, it's really hard to see, but it's at the very top right-hand corner of the webpage. You see that YouTube kind of rectangular, it's black, rectangular, it's really tiny with a little white arrow in it. Click on that, it takes you directly to the Chalet YouTube page, and then all the webinars are listed, and they're usually posted by 5 p.m. the day that we do them. So you can catch up and watch them anytime, at your leisure, and no fee. They're all free. Okay, and then let me see. I think I got all the questions answered. I have, and then I got all of the, and then, okay, and I promised I would go back and answer Luann's question about when to cut endless summer viburnums. So now, endless summers, on my own, I'm seeing a lot of deadwood from that. We had that really cold February. And so I'm waiting to see where the new growth is going to initiate off the old stems. So I'm going to wait another probably 2 to 4 weeks, it depends on our weather, how they wake up. And then wherever the new growth comes out, I prune the brown stem right above, just above, like ½ inch above where the shoots are coming out. And then here's another tip for endless summers. All right. They were supposed to be like the end all be all for all, all of us rhododendron viburnum lovers, and they have been disappointing. The nickname for them is endless disappointment, because we don't get as good a snow cover as they do up in Minnesota, where they were discovered and developed. So the neat way, and they bloom better on lateral shoots. Those are shoots that are not from the tip, but from the side shoots. So once you see the new growth developed, and you're going to kind of target the middle of May to the end of May, and then you're going to come in, it's called tipping. You come in and just cut the very tips of all the shoots that have developed. And then what that does, it takes the terminal buds away and promotes the lateral buds, and you get much heavier flowering on those laterals. Okay, did that help you, Luann? And it was not rhododendrons and azaleas. It was a tricky viburnum question. So it's just because I love you that I came back and answered it. So let me see. Did I get all of them? And will this presentation be available? Oh my goodness! It looks like I'm gonna knock this one out of the way. And we still have 32 people. And oh my goodness, I'm ending right at 11:01. So everybody, thank you so much. I hope to see you in the store and out in the nursery this weekend. We are closed on Sunday. We're closed for Easter, but then after that, all of us are working 6 days a week going forward, make hay while the sun shines. And then next week, actually in 2 weeks, we start our Thursday evenings until 8 p.m. So next week is a private event that you have to register for. It's a paid event. But then after that, we're open until 8 p.m. every Thursday, all the way till, I believe it's the end of July. So I'll look forward to seeing you. I'm actually stationed, which is pretty nice, back at the diagnostic desk, and instead of out in the Plant Information Center. So you'll be able to find me at the microscope. I think I'm going to be, yeah. Oh, Luana, I understood that. I just saw a chat come up that you were referring to endless summer hydrangea. That's what I was talking about. That was the pruning the tip I came back to tell you on. Okay. So everybody, I've chattered enough this morning, and I'll look forward to seeing you at Chalet. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now. Oh, I had one more question. Let me check. Okay, Linda Welsh, the tipping for the hydrangea would occur at the end of May. Okay, all right, and everyone's breaking my rules. That's okay. All right, I got them all in. Bye, everybody.